Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to today's People session. We're just letting everybody in. We've got so many people registered for this session, and I absolutely understand why. This is such an interesting topic. But I'm just going to give everybody just a moment before we really get into it, and give people a chance to sit down with their cuppa. And whilst we are waiting for everybody else to come in, why don't you jump on into the chat function and give us a hiya, and just because we love it when people engage with us in the chat, because we can't see everybody's faces, so we like it, don't we?
We do. We love it. And I like knowing where people are from because I'm nosy. So
You're nosy.
Beautiful Medway. How lovely. Hi, Janet.
Wonderful.
It's lovely. We can see Janet's face. We can't always see people. So it's
Oh, no, that's really nice. Thank you, Janet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, from Middle England. I had
Middle England.
medieval strings playing in my head then.
Sunny
it's been a bit
Gloucestershire.
like a geography lesson already.
Isn't it?
Yeah. Like, where's that?
Norfolk, Kings Lynn. Hi, Megan. Hi, Sam. Hi, Janet. In Gloucester.
Oh, Scotland.
Hi, Kelly and Nia. Beautiful Penarth. I do know you, Sabrina. Lush to have you here. Hope you're doing well. Hi, Rosemary from Cornwall.
Good morning, or
good
day.
Good day. Good day to you.
Well, it's sort of 2 minutes past midday.
It is.
Good afternoon.
Amazing work that you do, Rosemary.
Oh,
That's needed.
To say I love it sounds terrible, doesn't it? But I love making a difference.
You love it because you found your purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Do you want to start sharing your screen, Leanne?
Yes, I will. Sorry, I was going to carry on chatting to everyone in the chat box.
You can still chat in the chat whilst I'm talking. Is that right?
Okay. 1 second, everyone.
Wonderful. Okay, well, we're just going to get started. People can still filter in during this session. This session is being recorded, so if you do have to run off or miss anything at any time, then we'll send out the replay to everybody. So welcome everybody to our February People Expert session with Sarah Tancell. Before I introduce our guest, we're going to hear a little bit about our latest BEAM update. For those of you who don't know who we are, BEAM Development and Training is the company that is behind these People sessions. And it's run by myself and Leanne Weaver, who's also on the call as well. You're going to be hearing from her later on. And we deliver wellbeing, leadership and personal development sessions to companies all over the world. So next slide. Our annual wellbeing plan solves the headache of how to introduce wellbeing support into your teams. We know that as people professionals, you have to make countless decisions every day about so many different things of the business. Well, we've simplified that process, helping you map out a whole 12 months of wellbeing support in just minutes. We aim to take away the stress for you and your teams. You'll be able to choose from 50 different topics that are all backed by science and developed by us at BEAM, and they are there to deal with the common issues that most organizations meet. Our wellbeing plan starts at 6,000 plus VAT, and that is for the whole year, and that is for any amount of employees. So if you have 10,000 or 10, it's all the same, and it is accessible for everyone. So if you would like to learn more about that, I will send info afterwards, but if you want to get into it straight away, you can drop us an email at office@beamtraining.co.uk. I will be throwing lots of stuff into the chat throughout this session as well, so those details will be there as well. So let's get started with today's session. We're excited to introduce to you Sarah Tancell, the founder of Neuro-D and a triple neurodivergent workplace consultant. Sarah has a great understanding of people professional needs from her 20 years experience in HR, as well as her experience working with HR and leadership teams. So today's session is going to be a little bit different to our normal people sessions, which is exciting for us, but is a little bit different. So we're going to be going through some of the questions that you have sent in prior to this session as well. But don't worry if you didn't get a chance to send in any of those questions, because we'll be inviting questions throughout the chat as well today. So if you have a question, whether that is about how to manage teams that have neurodiversity present, or if you yourself experience that and are looking to learn how to operate and manage when you enter the workplace. So feel free to throw any questions into the chat as we go through. I'd like to get started with the session. So let's get started. Leanne, Sarah, welcome.
Thank you so much. And what a lovely intro. You've got the most velvetly toned voice that I just want to relax and have a glass of wine, but it's professional. So I will not.
And of course,
Okay.
support with cat welfare.
Oh, someone's not on mute.
Well, thank you.
good.
Maybe I'll look into doing some audio books at some point.
Do.
Welcome, Leanne, as well. So Leanne's going to be guiding through some of these questions. I'll be in the chat function to get started, and but I'll start off with the sort of first question, really to you, Sarah. Is what are some of the sort of hidden, we're going to get straight into it. So what are some of the hidden barriers in traditional workplace practices that organizations often overlook?
Okay, yes, we're starting at the deep end, aren't we? So
Yes.
Beautiful question, thank you. I think from a workplace lens, the area that not only have I seen, but I've felt. So I've seen as an HR professional, but I've also felt it as somebody who's trying to navigate the workplace is, let's keep it to three things. There's a lot, but the three is, I'm going to say environment. And when I say environment, I mean the space in which the office is, so whether that's open plan or it's a rabbit warren of a building, as well as sounds and as well as the way that it's laid out. So that's really, really important. Why? Because if you're neurodivergent, you're more sensitive to your surroundings than somebody who is not. And therefore trying to navigate the workplace when you just want to do your job, but someone's eating crisps in the corner. Somebody's having a conversation that you don't want to be part of, but you can hear everything. Or you are in a seat where there's a high amount of footfall, can be really, really distracting. So I would say firstly, environment. And then going to say manager capability. And I don't want this to be about pointing the finger, because this has got to be a positive, what can we do now conversation. But so when I say manager capability, it's the unknown. And it's the case of, I don't know the answer to how to support this neurodivergent individual. So I'm either going to do nothing through fear, or I'm going to pass this scenario around to 5 different departments, or I'm going to promise the world and again probably not do the right type of support that individual needs. So it's more about the systems and the processes that I think are where we are failing neurodivergent employees.
It's there's such a range of things that need to be in place, like you mentioned, those policies, and it can be a little bit overwhelming, especially if those policies aren't even something that have been produced at this stage. Where would you say that if there's anybody listening that has that needs to is looking into this, their team, where should they start?
Okay, I would probably move away from policies, because policies is just a piece of paper, right? It's how you implement it and how it's used and interpreted in the workplace. What I think would be really important is, first of all, to use a really good neurodiversity consultant, or work out the journey for a neurodivergent employee. So what I mean by that is, in terms of navigating space through the environment, walk through an average day, if one exists, of the workplace and try and understand what the triggers might be for somebody who is trying to navigate that space. Actually, I've got something I can send to everybody at the end, if that's okay, which will help identify that in terms of an audit of the space. And I think doing that is, first of all, a good first step, but also let's just zoom out a minute. Let's just talk about, we don't want to just suddenly do an audit of a workplace and that's going to be our contribution to neuroinclusion. It's not just about policies or the environment. Let's look at how we can support our neurodivergent talent in terms of psychological safety. Because if we want to start having that level of neuroinclusion, you need to understand who's in your business is neurodivergent and then how you can support them on an individual basis. But if you haven't made that environment safe for them to disclose, the chances are they're not going to. So your program, neuroinclusion program, would have failed at the very beginning because you brought out all of these policies and frameworks, but if no one's going to use them, then it's not going to work. So it's about actually having that psychological safety in terms of how conversations are had within the workplace about neuroinclusion, how existing, if you can recognise the neurodivergent employees are treated now, but also how are you creating awareness around that? Because you don't want token neurodivergent employees, and that's really important. You don't want them to feel like that, because again, you're going to create another barrier for them to be successful at work.
Yeah, I think that's so important, Sarah, because without the foundation of psych safety, then everything just crumbles. You can have the best intention, but if psych safety isn't present, whatever challenge your employee is going through is not going to be dealt with properly.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a big believer that neuroinclusion just isn't just for neurodivergent employees, it's there for all employees. So I'm just going to get a bit technical now because I think it's helpful for the discussion. We're all neurodiverse. So just like we have biodiversity, we have neurodiversity. But within that, we have different types of brain functions. So we have neurotypical brain functioning, which is very much a linear way of processing information and environments and sensory. And that's neurotypical. I hate that term because it suggests that that is the only way, but that's okay. That's just my opinion. And then we have neurodivergent individuals. And those individuals have conditions such as ADHD, autism, dyslexia, OCD. And historically, workplaces, society, social structures haven't been built for those types of thinkers. They're very much the emphasis on neurotypical thinkers. And that's why we're having these sorts of conversations today. So when I say neurodivergent, I mean those who have those traits that I've talked about, and neurotypical is those that don't.
I love that. I think that's so important as well, is to kind of recognise those differences.
Yeah.
It's so important.
And
so
that's go on. I'm getting excited. Sorry.
well, I was just going to say, because I can feel your passion and almost frustration at times as well. What would be sort of misconceptions you'd love everyone in this meeting right now to take away and shatter that misconception? If there was one thing, what would you love it to be?
Neurodivergent individuals are, it's not a deficit, it's a difference. And I think the minute that we start understanding that, we can change so many different systems and cycles, and the way that we approach neuroinclusion, but also how we treat neurodivergent individuals. It's nothing wrong with that individual, it's how the environment they're in has been constructed. There you go, neurodivergence at its finest. How it's been constructed, but how we can remove barriers that individual's finding challenging in order to make them successful.
And I guess to really bring out those amazing qualities of that person as well.
Yeah. And this goes back to, I think we've got lots of HR people on here, so I'm going to just use the terminology, reasonable adjustments. We legally, if somebody is neurodivergent, have to offer reasonable adjustments to them. But no two brains are the same. So you can't just roll out a whole suite of, oh, so you've got ADHD, so I need to give you X, Y, Z. It doesn't work like that. So it's about having that one-to-one conversation with them and identifying what the challenges are that they're facing. And I don't like to call them reasonable adjustments, because I think actually they're success enablers, and that goes back to that language change, that it's not a deficit, it's just a difference. So if we start using that terminology, I think we'll see a big difference.
I love that. It's not a deficit, it's a difference. That's so, I've not heard it explained like that before either. So that's so useful.
I'll use that. I'll pen my name to that then. Thank you.
Quote. So we had a few questions emailed to us. So I'm not going to reveal the people's names in case they're on this call and they don't want it to be. But other than that, I'm going to read their emails that they sent in the entirety to give you an idea of kind of where people are coming from and what questions they have. And hopefully at the same time, anyone who is listening to this live, if you want to put your own question in the chat box, as you can tell, Sarah is kind of open. Don't be scared of saying the wrong thing or anything like that. I think that sometimes worries people, that they might word it wrong, you know?
It doesn't matter. It's the fact that you're wording it. And I think we need to lead with that. It's like, it's not taboo. And it's a bit like, and you'll probably feel this, where we were maybe 10, 15 years ago with well-being. It was this thing that happened over there. Someone had been off with stress and we don't know what to do with them. And I've seen that in the workplace with neurodiversity. And this is how we change it, by asking the questions.
Absolutely. And I think reducing that fear of, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I upset someone? What if I offend someone? At least you're having the conversation and you're showing that you are trying, right?
Yeah, we're human. We're not robots.
Exactly.
Sorry, you had a question.
Okay, so let's go with the first email that we had through. So, hello, not sure if this is the sort of question you're looking for, but from a member of staff who is feeling lonely in the workplace. Being a neurodiversity person, I attend office regularly, but still can feel very lonely. I could spend the whole day and no one talks to me. Are there any suggestions, please?
Oh my God, that hurts my heart and my soul to start off with. That's a really tough situation to be in. But whoever this is, my first response would be is you're not alone. And actually, before I was diagnosed, I felt that too. And most of my one-to-one clients, the first thing they say to me is, I'm so lonely, yet I'm surrounded by so many people. So know that this is nothing about you. It's about the environment around you and how it's set up, but also how you're trying to navigate it. I think my second sense is that if you're in a workplace and no one's speaking to you, it says something about the culture of the workplace, rather than anything that you are or not doing. And then I'm gonna give you a challenge to whoever this person is and say, it would be really good if you could just take a teeny tiny step out of your comfort zone and start connecting with people. And I'm not saying go and have lunch with somebody that you've never met before, because there's absolutely no way in this world I would do that, just none. But you can do small, tiny steps like walking to the coffee shop with somebody. And if you don't want to ask them in person, we've got all of this communication there now. Go and have a Slack chat with them. Just say, hey, do you want to go for a coffee? If you're walking, you haven't got eye contact there, which is something that I really struggle with. So you're focusing on what's going around you and just have some idle chit chat. That was an example. But whatever you do, I really struggle with small talk. It's just something that I have to write scripts for. In fact, I've got scripts for today because I really struggle with it. So if you do too, write some, like I have 5 back pocket scripts that I use for various situations. So if I've run out of them and you're in a conversation with me, you'll probably know about it. But have them in your back pocket for various situations, and they've been really, really helpful to me. And then I think finally for this person, 1 in 5 people are neurodivergent. So the chances are there's somebody around you that is neurodivergent as well and would love to connect with you. So maybe it's a case of creating a micro community within your workplace, whether there's a game that you both play, whether there's a craft thing you both do, a book that you both like, start a book club, or be really brave and start a neurodiversity group, a neuroinclusion group for people just like you in the workplace, because they'll thank you for it. But you really aren't alone. And if you need anything else, then please just get in touch with me. I'd be really, really happy to help. So yeah, that hurts me
It's lovely.
to hear that.
It definitely touched our hearts when that came through as
Yeah.
well. So beautifully answered.
Absolutely.
Could I
And
ask
if
you-
that individual isn't on the call today, which they might not be, then we will be sending that clip to them as well. So
please
that
do.
will
Yeah.
that will
Yeah,
that will
please do.
definitely get answered.
Thank you.
Yeah. And before I go on to the next question, I was going to ask you to answer that the flip side. So what if someone isn't neurodiverse, but has noticed someone in the office and they know they are, but they seem to keep themselves to themselves and they're afraid of that, saying the wrong thing, doing the wrong thing, making them uncomfortable? Do you have advice from that side as well?
Yeah, and it goes back to my point about it doesn't just have to be about neurodivergent people. If someone was like that and you didn't know that they were neurodivergent, you'd still go up to them. I would imagine, if you're a good person, a good human, and go, "Hey, are you okay? Do you want to go for lunch?" So I would still take that approach. And if you know that they're perhaps neurodivergent and they do struggle with small talk like I do, then use Slack, use another way and go, "Hey, you seem a bit quiet. Is everything okay? I'm always here." And support them that way. And it doesn't need to be these big, gestures of grandeur or virtue signaling. Just go and say hi, and they will really, really appreciate it, or just take an interest in something. Because I can guarantee you, if you find out what their special interest is, you got a friend for life there.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, next question. So this actually, I'm going to kind of add my own bit to it as well. So the question is, we have a few staff members who suffer from OCD. Can we talk about how to best support these individuals and manage others' experience and expectations of them? So the bit I wanted to add to that for you answer, Sarah, is some people might be surprised that OCD is coming under the heading of neurodiversity.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, ADHD. No, I'm so sorry. This is neurodivergence in all of its glory. So OCD does come under the neurodivergence umbrella. So it is considered a form of neurodivergence. And I guess what my approach would I'd get curious. And I would question, first of all, is this person aware that they have OCD? Are we just assuming that they've got OCD because their desk is really tidy? And do they actually want some support? Because they may just want to be left alone. And then number 2, if they do need that level of support, I would have a conversation with that individual to not find out what's wrong, but how can you help? So remember, I talked about it's not about deficit, it's about difference. So what do you need? How can I get out of your way? Are there any changes that you need? And if you wanted to be more official, you could go down the route of an actual official workplace assessment, so that you can have an expert come in and have a one-to-one conversation with them to work out actually what are the challenges that you're having at work and how can we support you in terms of making you successful. So there's success enablers there. And then on the, I think you said, sorry, I'm forgetting, it was a long question, but you said about how others can support. Is that right?
Yes,
So
that's right.
colleagues. My big caveat to that would be make sure that that individual is happy to have their OCD disclosed, because they may not be. Again, that goes back to that psychological safety piece in terms of making sure that they feel safe to disclose and have that as an open conversation. And then I think it goes down to leadership and making it okay to talk about that, but also what are the boundaries. So an example would be, I won't clear that up because Paul will come along and tidy it up with his OCD. Or, oh, look, you're being OCD today, I can tell. That's not helpful for somebody that's probably internally struggling, because it can show up in very different ways for each individual. So that wouldn't be helpful. And then that creates more stigma. So I would approach it in a way of, what do you need? How can I help? And then if you're a colleague, just as I said before, talk to them, ask them what they find challenging so that you know and that you can make workarounds for them.
Yeah. I think OCD is one of the most misunderstood because it has been used flippantly as, oh, that's just where you tidy up a lot or you like things in a certain way. And so I think there is a huge misunderstanding with OCD anyway. So I agree, talk to them, have the conversation, be open, be honest, be brave.
Yeah, and you know, this is a safe space. My husband has OCD, and we make workarounds by, he'll struggle to leave the house because he needs to check every plug, every light, make sure the door's locked, make sure the back door's locked, make sure make sure everything's how it is. And if we don't do that, then he'll feel stressed when we're out. So we just cater in an extra 10 minutes so that we can go through it together. And he goes, front door, check, back door, check. And, you know, he's my husband, so we have a joke about it, just like he'll joke about me forgetting something or leaving all the cupboard doors open. But if you've got that camaraderie with someone, support them like that.
Yeah.
But you've got to make sure you've got that relationship in place first.
Yeah. Janet in the chat has just said it's the stigma that's the problem. And I think oftentimes that is the case.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah, I completely agree. And not just on OCD, and all of the different types of neurodivergence that show up in the workplace.
So we've got a question in the chat that I'm going to jump to from Ronan. And he says, is it necessary to have a diagnosis for neurodivergent to be treated with dignity and seriousness in the workplace? We all have moments of inattention, social awkwardness, or sensory overload. I think a lot of that comes down to psych safety again.
Yeah, but also I would say there's no legislation in place that says that you have to disclose that you're neurodivergent. So this is what I go back to, make it for everybody. So make it inclusive, so that it's not just those that are struggling with time management, for example, because that's something that I do. I'm really sorry, I forgot the other half of the question. Can you just repeat it for me? It was about
I mean, is it necessary to have a diagnosis for neurodivergence to be treated with dignity and seriousness in the workplace?
Oh, I see. I think workplaces should be doing that anyway. I'm just going to put it out there, and I know that is I say that with jest, but I genuinely do. I walk into workplaces. I've been an HR consultant for years, and I sometimes think, my gosh, how are you? How is that leaving your mouth? How is that touching your lips? So I think it's about making sure that if you are somebody who finds various workplaces challenging, like I do your homework before you go and advertise for a job. Make sure that they are neuroinclusive. And I think that's really key in terms of how you're able to navigate your career within that workplace. But yeah, some people are just bloody cruel, and it's why I exist in Neuro-D, put it that way.
And some workplaces have terrible cultures.
Yes,
So
yeah.
if you
very
don't
much
feel
so.
you're treated with dignity and seriousness, then yeah, that's a real cultural issue, I would say.
It really is.
I just want to highlight Joe's comment, because Joe's commented in the chat box, just sharing a little bit of experience, really. So Joe says, we have well developed RAs in our organisation, but one of the best things we've done is to put anyone who calls us asking for help or asking what they can do as they suspect they're neurodivergent, is to put them in touch with each other. The support group is now self-running, very supportive, so I hear, and a very positive group.
Oh my gosh, just thank you. I think that's absolutely fantastic. And I'd love to catch up with, I think you said Joe, afterwards, so that I could perhaps share a story, because quite often people don't think about that. And I'm seeing more workplaces focus on neuroinclusion because they have a neurodivergent member of staff that's asked for help. So if this is how we're going to turn the volume up in workplaces, then let's go for it. And yes, I'd love that. I absolutely love it. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, so back to an email, and this email came in, so I'll just read it in its entirety. The current labeling of people seems to be neurodiverse or neurotypical. For these neurological differences to still exist, there must be some evolutionary advantage. So question one is, what is the advantage of being neurodiverse?
Gosh, okay. I'm stuck on the evolution point, because I want to start talking about we're not being chased by tigers anymore, and yet our brains haven't caught up with that. But I'm also going to say that neurodivergence and neurotypical hasn't just arrived. It's just that we've got the science now and the research there to identify what it means and some of the challenges that those individuals might face. I think that there was a study that was undertaken by EY about the skills of the future workforce. And when you look down the list of skills that they identified, the majority of them were the skills of neurodivergent talent. So if we looked at that list, it was pattern recognition, creative thinking, innovation, empathy. These are all the skills that neurodivergent talent hold. So I think in the advent of AI and how we're reshaping the workplace, it makes sense to me now that we are focusing on putting those programs in place so that there is a culture of neuroinclusion, so that in 10 years' time, you've got all this talent in place in your workplace, and you know how to support them. I think I answered that one, so I'm sorry if I didn't. I just got stuck on the tigers.
Answer it. You did answer
I heard
it.
evolution, and I wanted to say about that.
I think their second question, so this person's asked 3 questions on this basis. So the second question, I think you've probably already answered, really, but I'll ask it just to make sure. So neurodiverse or neurotypical is a very black and white label. In time, will it be more accepted that we're all just neuro something somewhere on that scale?
Yeah, I answered that earlier when I said, yeah, we're all neurodiverse, just like we have biodiversity. So I think that answers that. But if it doesn't, if that person wants to come back, I can clarify, even if it's not today.
Okay. And their final question, there seems to be an increasing number of ADHD diagnoses in recent years. Has there been an increase in ADHD, or has it been the result of better diagnosis, or is something else at play?
Okay, this is quite a long-winded answer, so I'm gonna try and keep it short. So, like I just said, neurodivergent individuals have always been here. So it's about the level of awareness that's been raised, largely by individuals. So if you look at societal norms now, you'll see that there are a lot of individuals who are neurodivergent. The workplace has also changed, and in terms of the skills that are required. So that's the evolution piece, I guess. And I would also say that we're more aware as individuals now. And I got diagnosed in my early 40s with ADHD. But what I hadn't anticipated, that when I got that diagnosis, I'd also be diagnosed with autism. So some of those things we can identify in ourselves, and I only identified it because I was rolling out a neurodiversity program and went down the list of ADHD and thought, hang on a minute, that's why I've been struggling so much. So I think it's that a level of awareness has increased. But I'm also going to say that with that level of awareness, I think the increase is largely around women of a certain age. For ADHD, I'm talking about here. We've dropped our masks because we've been able to do so because of this, the volume being turned up. But there is a strong link, a science-backed link between hormones and ADHD. And I think the moment my hormones left my body was at the point where the wheels started to fall off for me, and needed to get that extra level of support and the diagnosis. So I think a lot of women are seeing that there's a big life change related to hormones, or when you have a baby, they change, and then suddenly all of the things that you were doing that you didn't know you were doing intentionally to navigate the workplace, they change, and you start to struggle. And it's that point that women are going to ask for help. But I also think that medical research has improved as well, so GPs are able to identify it more. So that's a really long-winded answer, but there's so many different things. I'd
There's
also
so
say
many
that
factors.
yeah. I'd also say that Gen Z, if you look at the different types of education that the different generations have had, Gen Z are going to enter the workplace and know what neurodiversity means and know what to ask for. So as they come into the workplace more, and we have a greater pool, a community of Gen Zs, that's when we're going to see an even more, well, that's going to be ramped up in terms of the types of neuro-inclusive needs of the organisation.
Very true. We've got a great question here from Fiona. Fiona says, our workplace is starting a support group for staff and also to provide education to the company about neuro-inclusion. We intend to have people with first-hand experience or awareness that others in the workplace can come and download to when they are having a bad day, or talk about our experience with diagnoses, etc. Any advice on the setup of this, please?
I think that's brilliant, number one. It sounds like you're doing all of the right things. I've got some things, if that person wants to reach out to me individually, I can share them in terms of employee resource groups. I think, let's go back to psychological safety. If you are going to do that, get a leader who is happy to disclose their neurodivergence to come on board as well. Why? Because you need that leadership level of buy-in for people to feel comfortable to disclose. But actually, if I'm just entering a workplace and one of the leaders has dyslexia and I've got dyslexia, I'm going to go, oh my God, I can see a career path for me here. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think we need to have someone to model, right?
Yes, yeah, get an executive sponsor. But champions, if you are rolling out a neurodiversity program, champions are your biggest allies. Use them.
Yeah.
So thank you, whoever that is.
Janet and Heidi are just kind of commenting really on the connection between perimenopause and neurodiversity and how your mask drops. I think what I would add there is that estrogen is our caring hormone. So as estrogen declines, we care less. I've heard many menopause experts call it something else, that perhaps I won't say on here, but it's that we don't give a thing anymore about other people's feelings and trying to be what we think other people want us to be. So I can see how, the mask drops because we stop caring what everyone else is thinking as much.
I think we're just done. We're done with the masking and the filter drops, and you're like, actually, no. And that's where my burnout came from in my most recent employment. I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is rubbish. What is this? So yeah, and you're right. It's about estrogen, but dopamine, because when dopamine drops in,
It's fascinating. So we're getting to time, so I'll do one last question, which is from Rosemary. And I'm not sure, this might be more of a medical question, so feel free to say if this isn't in your remit, Sarah. Don't want to put you on the spot. So why is it so hard to get a fibromyalgia chronic fatigue syndrome diagnosis, but easier to get an ADHD autistic diagnosis?
I can't speak of fibromyalgia, so I that's not in my wheelhouse. But what I can counter that with and say it's not that easy to get an ADHD diagnosis. I had to go privately to get it, and I think in some counties there's a 10-year wait list to get it via the NHS. I don't know anything about fibromyalgia. I know it comes under neurodivergence in terms of the umbrella, but how to get that level of help or why there's a longer wait list or it's difficult to access, I don't know. But if again that person wants to reach out, I know somebody. I have this beautiful community of people that have various parts of experience or knowledge that somehow there's always a tenuous link to neurodivergence. So I'm sure I can help with that. Well, not personally, but point them in the right direction.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, certainly through my therapy work, I have lots of clients come who are neurodivergent in some way, and some have taken years to get that diagnosis, and some have actually given up, but they know that they tick all the boxes and that's enough for them.
Sometimes it's like, if you don't need medical interventions, and sometimes it's just the knowledge that that's part of you. Sorry, I interrupted you, Leanne.
No, I think that's really important. That's conversations I have in the therapy room. It's like, okay, what benefit do I get from having the official diagnosis? Do I need medication? Does it open a pathway? Or actually, now that I feel that I tick those boxes, can I make adaptations? Then that's enough for me.
Yeah, and this is that goes back to my point of you don't have to disclose in the workplace. You can still self-advocate. So I work with a lot of individuals to go, okay, you don't want to disclose, but let's work around your day and look at what are the changes that you can make that are going to make your life easier and remove some of those challenges. So yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a personal journey.
We are at time, Sarah. Is there one last thing you want to leave us with as a takeaway of something you just want to wave the banner for?
I'm going to go with individuals who are neurodivergent, and my takeaway is going to be there's nothing wrong with you. Love yourself, find your people. There are loads of people out there who are no doubt going through exactly what you're experiencing. And if you need to find groups and you're not sure where to start, again, just get in touch with me, and I can find a community that might be right for you. But there's nothing wrong with you. It's the environment, and talk. It's good to talk.
It really is. Thank you so much, Sarah. I know that there will be a lot of people reaching out to you. There's been quite a few comments where people want to reach out. I noticed there was another comment from Rosemary about the connection between fibro and neurodiversity. Yes. I think Sarah did mention that she's not an expert on fibro, but if you want to reach out to her directly, then by all means you can. I will hand back to Tom to wrap everything up.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Leanne. And thank you, everybody, for all of the questions that came in as well. We will be sending out Sarah's details in the post-session email. So if you have any questions that you didn't get a chance to answer or you think about later, then feel free to connect with Sarah directly. So we have some upcoming people events on, and March is quite busy as well. So I'm just going to have a quick run through of the next few sessions. So on the 17th of March, we have Resilient Leadership for People. I've put the link to register, and these are all free sessions. So you can register for free, some of them, all of them, whichever, or just get the replays. On the 25th of March, we have Menopause Matters with our next guest experts, Halisadini Wilkinson, which will be another great session as well, and really, really helpful. And then in April, on the 14th, we have Leading with Calm Clarity for People. So you're welcome to come along. You can also join the People Network on LinkedIn. We post loads of replays, resources, and connect you with loads of experts as well. You can also connect with Sarah on LinkedIn or book a discovery call with us at Beam to chat about anything that you'd like. We do like to just chat as well, so that's fine. Thank you very much for coming along. The recording will be available and will be sent out. And thank you very much to our guest, Sarah, for coming along.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank you, Sarah.
What I'll
Thank you
do
all.
is
Have
I
a great
will-
day.
I'll stop the recording now.